Okay, so OpenAI just dropped GPT 5.1, and you know what? The big story here isn't what you might think. It's not about raw power this time. It's all about personality.
Hey, before we dive in, if you're into explainers like this, do me a quick favor and hit that subscribe button. It really helps us out. Okay, let's get into it.
You got to see this one line from OpenAI's announcement. It basically says it all. And that right there, that's the whole game plan. They're making a massive bet that how an AI talks to you is just as important as what it tells you.
All right, so here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll dig into this whole vibe shift. Then we'll get into the performance debate. What are people actually saying? We'll also talk about the bugs and the user backlash, because yeah, there's some of that. Then we'll zoom out to the bigger AI horse race. And finally, we'll wrap it up with why any of this really matters.
Okay, let's kick things off. The vibe shift. So what is this thing really? Well, it all starts with two new models they released. You've got Instant for your quick, snappy shots, and then Thinking for when you need to do some deep problem solving. But here's the key. The goal for both of them is exactly the same, to make the whole interaction just feel better.
And check this out. You can literally see the difference right here. On the left, you've got the old GPT-5. It gives you this super formal kind of robotic list of tips. But look at the new GPT 5.1. It's warmer by default. It's personal. It's conversational. It's less like reading a manual and a lot more like talking to a friend who actually gets it.
And this is a huge deal. It's all about following simple instructions. Look at the left. You ask GPT-5 for 6 words. It says sure, and then bam, a whole paragraph. So frustrating, right? But now look at GPT 5.1. It actually does it. It nails the request. And that kind of reliability, man, that is a game changer when you need to get something specific done.
OpenAI is also handing over the controls to you with these new personality presets. So now you can go into your settings and choose a default tone. You can basically decide, hey, today I want to talk to a polished professional, or maybe a quirky brainstormer, or you know what, even a cynical critic. You get to pick the vibe.
All right, section 2, the performance debate. Because of course, as soon as GPT 5.1 hit the streets, the big question started flying around. Is it actually better? And it turns out the answer is, well, it completely depends on who you ask and what they're trying to do with it.
So, on one side of the argument, you've got users, especially developers, who think this thing is a massive step up. Take this Reddit user, for example. They found the coding version to be noticeably quicker and way better at keeping track of things across multiple files, which, as any coder knows, can be a huge pain.
But then, you see the complete opposite. Another developer said, nope, not for me. They found the new model was actually messing up their code, while one of the big competitors, Anthropic Sonnet 4.5, fixed the whole thing in one shot. It just goes to show you the best tool really isn't a one-size-fits-all thing anymore.
So what is going on here? How can you have such wildly different experiences? Well, a big part of the answer is something OpenAI calls adaptive reasoning. Basically, it's designed to be about twice as fast on simple stuff, but, and this is key, it will intentionally take up to twice as long on really complex problems so it can give you a better, more thought-out answer. So if it feels slow on a hard problem, that's not a bug. It's actually a feature. Okay, so moving on. Bugs and user backlash. Because this whole thing isn't just a debate about whether it's faster or slower. The rollout itself has been, well, a little rocky. Users are definitely reporting some very real bugs and frustrations. Let's run through a few of the top complaints people are having. For one, custom GPTs and actions are just broken for a lot of people. The model's doing this weird thing where it spells out numbers, like 42 instead of 42. It's also getting confused, mixing up memory and context between different chats. And on top of all that, a ton of users are just getting slammed with constant server errors.
So if you look at the broader sentiment, a lot of people feel like the performance is kind of stagnant. Coders are frustrated that it just pastes whole new blocks of code instead of editing what's there. Some people are even saying that new warm personality just feels like an anointing glaze. And the big takeaway for many is that this feels like a subtle refinement, not the major leap forward they were really hoping for.
All right, let's zoom out a bit for our next section, the AI horse race. Because you have to remember, this release isn't happening in a vacuum, not at all. It's just the latest move in this incredibly fast-paced race between a handful of major players.
And this quote from a user on Reddit just nails the current situation. They said, the models are constantly leapfrogging each other. And that's exactly it. The title of Best AI changes hands all the time. One month it's OpenAI, the next it could be Anthropic, the month after that maybe XAI. This constant leapfrogging? Welcome to the new normal.
So who are the main contenders right now? Well, you've got OpenAI, and with GPT-5.1, their strategy is crystal clear. Focus on that conversational vibe and user experience. Then there's Anthropic, who's really carving out a niche with their Claude models for top-tier coding and complex agentic tasks. And then you have XAI, pushing hard on real-time analysis with their upcoming Grok 3. See? Each company is placing a bet on a totally different strength.
Okay, so let's bring it all together in our final section. Why this matters. After all the new features, the heated debates, and the fierce competition, what does this all actually mean? What's the big takeaway here? I think there are 3 key things to remember.
First, and this is a big one, the battle for AI dominance is shifting. It's not just about raw power anymore. Now, it's about user experience, personality, and that whole vibe. Second, the idea of a single best AI is pretty much dead. The right tool for the job is becoming completely dependent on what you're actually doing. And third, the pace is only getting faster. This crazy cycle of constant updates and leapfrogging, get used to it. It's the new normal. And that leaves us with one last question to chew on. In a future where an AI's personality is just another feature you can tweak, like the brightness on your phone screen, it makes you wonder, right? How are you going to choose the digital companions you work with, create with, and maybe even live with every single day?